Were there real traps in ancient tombs, as shown in Hollywood movies like Indiana Jones? Take any popular artwork with ancient ruins, and most likely they will end up with some deadly trap. We read talking about arrows flying out of the walls if an adventurer who climbed into the tomb stepped on some kind of slab and everything like that. Modern Hollywood films and popular culture have often accustomed us to the so-called protected ancient tombs with many intricate traps. Indiana Jones in the movies constantly explores similar tombs and challenges one dangerous trap after another during the treasure hunt. Something similar can be seen in popular video games like Tomb Raider and Uncharted, which also popularize ancient traps. While the films about the Mummy are replete with ancient curses and create all sorts of problems for people looking for wealth, but have you ever wondered if what is shown to us on the screen has any real basis in fact? Were there such dangerous traps in ancient tombs in reality? Now we will talk about this in more detail in our new article. It turns out that there is some truth in the existence of ancient traps, but it is not as unambiguous as it may seem at first glance. Similar traps, as in the movies, have indeed been found in some tombs of Egyptian pharaohs and in the final resting places of Chinese emperors. We have done quite a lot of research and learned some interesting facts about real historical traps that are both fascinating and frightening. In the tomb of one of the most powerful pharaohs of the Old Kingdom in ancient Egypt, there was an uncomplicated mechanism that activated and dropped a massive stone block on the heads of intruders. The head of the Association for the Study of Ancient Egypt named Mark Lehner and his research team found evidence of a very primitive mechanism embedded in the pyramid of Pharaoh Khufu, Cheops, who lived from 2584 to 2566 BC, in Giza. When archaeologists examined the Great Pyramid, they found grooves along the walls leading to the room where the pharaoh was buried. Egyptologist Lehner and his colleagues conducted a thorough study using 3D modeling of the entire room and found out that once these grooves were part of a kind of security system that activated and dropped large stone slabs on potential tomb robbers who would try to get inside to rob the tomb of the pharaoh. However, this security system was not reliable, since the remains of Cheops and all his wealth were presumably stolen from his tomb anyway during the lifetime of his contemporaries. But of course, not all scientists are convinced that Pharaoh Cheops was ever buried in a room with these grooves. For example, modern Egyptologist Zahi Hawass believes that this room was just a bait for robbers, and the real pharaoh remains buried somewhere inside the bowels of the structure in a still unexplored place. The tomb of Pharaoh Amenhotep III contained fake walls and floors with 6-meter pit traps. Located in the Valley of the Kings in Luxor, the tomb of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, who lived in 1391 to 1354 BC, was discovered by French engineers at the end of the 18th century. But it is noteworthy that inside the tomb of Pharaoh Amenhotep, several rather interesting engineering traps were discovered, designed for tomb robbers if they get inside. After passing through many staircases and corridors inside the pyramid, the robbers got into a chamber where there was a fake wall, behind which there was another passage into the bowels of the structure. Assuming that if someone successfully overcame this obstacle and passed through a fake wall, then he got into a room with fake floors that collapsed if a person whose weight exceeded the weight of a small child stepped on them. People fell into a deadly pit trap 6 meters deep from which it was then impossible to get out. It is noteworthy that the caretakers of the pyramids, guarded tombs during ancient Egypt, periodically replaced the damaged floors in this tomb for subsequent robbers. Automatic crossbows, possibly, are embedded in the walls of the tomb of the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang. Perhaps the most elaborate ancient tomb with traps was built for Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unite all of China. His famous 8,000-strong terracotta army symbolically protected the Qin emperor, but the mausoleum itself was not excavated by archaeologists fearing unforeseen traps. It is known that the Qin emperor was buried in a tomb with an area of 2 square kilometers and was guarded from potential robbers not only with the help of lakes and rivers with liquid mercury, but also with the help of automatically firing crossbows built into the walls, as if in some video game. The tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, according to his personal biographer, is protected by many crossbows designed to shoot at anyone who enters it. Since these crossbows had to exist together with the mercury rivers inside which the emperor is buried, it is possible that they are located next to parts of the emperor's mausoleum that are still unexplored by modern scientists. However, for such a huge amount of time, the trap in the form of crossbow bolts probably fell into disrepair and would hardly pose a danger to a modern treasure explorer, if not for rivers of mercury. Ordinary curses continue to inspire fear, turning them into eternal traps. Well, the most common and effective trap is the banal fear of possible curses. Since ancient times, stone slabs have been installed near the entrance to Egyptian tombs with warnings that anyone who tries to enter will be damned forever, and most often this was the only obstacle on the way to the tombs of the pharaohs and their untold riches. And although the threat of the curse scared away many people, it did not stop many tomb robbers in its mass, so this problem was a headache for many pharaohs. By the way, the constant looting of tombs is one of the reasons why the pharaohs stopped being buried in the pyramids, preferring the protected Valley of the Kings. The second reason is that it has become very expensive to build pyramids. We had a detailed article on this topic, we will leave a link to it below. But of course, the very idea that a curse will befall anyone who disturbs the tomb is best demonstrated by the events associated with the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. After Howard Carter and his benefactor Lord Carnarvon broke the seal in the burial chamber of the young pharaoh, it took only a few months before the latter died of illness. Shortly thereafter, George J. Guldi, a visitor to the tomb, died, as well as one of Carter's friends, Sir Bruce Ingham, who was presented with a mummified hand as a paperweight. His fellow Egyptologist and member of the excavation team A.S. Mace died in 1928, and Carter's assistant Richard Bethel died in 1929. This whole topic was very actively fueled by various conspiracy theorists and news reports, thereby generating in people's minds that these curses are real. But of course all these people died of natural causes, in a completely different period of time, and many of them were at a fairly advanced age.